Over 25 years ago, the Digimon franchise was born with the original Digital Monster Virtual Pet, and since then we've seen a variety of continuations of this series. While there have been lulls over the years, the modern Digimon vpet landscape has been going strong, with new releases every year since 2017. With so many options, it can be overwhelming to figure out which device is the right one for you, and so I'm making this video to help navigate each of these options. I'll be giving a high-level overview for each device series, but if you want more detail, you can check out the other videos on this channel. The full details and roster for each device can of course be found at digitamahatchery.com, so make sure to head there to get fully informed before making your final decision. Before we get into the specifics of each device, it's important to state what a Digimon Virtual Pet is in the first place. All of them follow the same basic formula, which is that you hatch an egg and out pops a baby Digimon. As time goes on, it will evolve into new forms, and how you raise the Digimon will determine what exactly it will evolve into. Most devices involve feeding and cleaning up after your Digimon, and all of them involve battling. Digimon can die from neglect, and after they die, you get the chance to raise a new one. That basic loop of hatching, caring, battling, evolution, and death is the heart of the Digimon vpet experience. And while you can have certain goals such as clearing on-device battles or raising as many different Digimon as possible, the real purpose is simply raising your Digimon. What sets them apart from other distractions is their passive nature. They operate on their own clock and grow whether or not you're interacting, and so you don't tend to spend significant time with them each day, just a few minutes each hour or so. This means they are perfect to include in your life without distracting from whatever else you may be doing, whether that's working, spending time with people, or enjoying other hobbies. vpets can fit nicely into most people's daily routines without disrupting them. All of the vpets we'll be talking about have battles to complete on the device itself, so you don't need to connect to other devices to get the core experience. Most devices do have unlocks that require connecting to another specific device though, and rosters within the same series will differ between versions. Jogressing is supported on some devices, which involves a Digimon evolving by using the data of another Digimon. On devices that support Jogress, it is possible to do it without connecting to another device, except for certain Jogresses requiring specific Digimon. The last definition you'll need is Pendulum. Any Digimon vpet that has Pendulum in its name has a shaking mechanic, where you power up your Digimon for training and battle by shaking the device a certain number of times. All modern Digimon vpets save their progress frequently, so even if your battery dies, you'll still be able to pick up where you left off. For the devices that are exclusive to Japan, the menus are still all in English, except for the Digital Monster Color, but even then, you don't need to know the language to easily navigate the menus. Now, as for buying virtual pets, this gets a bit complicated. Everything I say in this video will be from a United States perspective, but there will be some tips that will apply to fans from all parts of the world. These are Japanese devices, first and foremost, and only a few models have been localized for release outside Japan. Those that have can all be found on Amazon US and some physical stores, though finding them in real life has become less common for me as of late. For those released only in Japan, they tend to release only as pre-orders on Premium Bandai Japan, which isn't an option for anyone not within the country. The only modern vpets sold in retail stores in Japan have been those in the Vital series, but even then, many DIM cards were also Premium Bandai only. To order devices that aren't available retail outside Japan, always look at current prices on a variety of locations. The first places to look are Zen and TCG, Japan You Want, and From Japan, which is technically called One Map now. Zenin and Japan You Want are both import stores that list stock when they have it and are pretty straightforward to order from. From Japan will require a bit more effort to use as it's a proxy service. Searching on From Japan should be done in Japanese, and those Japanese search terms can be found at the Digitama Hatchery Discord server. When you search on From Japan, it will pull results from Japanese user-submitted sales on Yahoo Japan Auctions, Mercari, and more. There are other proxies as well, and some people may like them, but From Japan is definitely my favorite for that type of option. Whether you use an import store or a proxy, always make sure you understand the shipping fees because it's not generally cheap to move these products across the ocean. With all of that out of the way, onto the devices. The Digital Monster version 20th was the first of the modern Digimon virtual pets, and it was an incredibly exciting release, bringing an end to a very long drought. It's a tribute to the original Digital Monster, featuring all 5 original rosters on one device. There are 5 different versions of the Digital Monster version 20th, but the difference between each one is just one unlockable egg. So don't pick which one you want based on version unless you really like the Digimon on a specific exclusive egg. Instead, base it on the color you want, as the DM20 has more color options than any other device on this list. It's also very easy to obtain, as it received an English release in several countries and goes for 20 USD normally. Because it's so easy to obtain, I recommend everyone get at least one to try out. Some notable features include its large roster of over 100 Digimon and the ability to raise 2 Digimon at a time side by side. However, it is what I would consider the least interesting of all the modern Digimon vpets, despite being a great device on its own. Some things I take issue with are the abundance of poop, evolutions being pretty boring after reaching Stage 4, some Stage 5 Digimon being unable to evolve at all, special eggs not featuring any branching whatsoever, and the unlock conditions for the exclusive egg being pretty ridiculous, requiring 5 connections to 5 other unique version 20th devices. It should also be noted that it doesn't have a pause feature, but it does allow you to make your Digimon take a nap for 3 hours at a time. You can also just hit the reset button to effectively pause a device, choosing to load your data whenever you are ready to continue. Overall, it's my lowest ranked device on this list, but still worth picking up if you want to give it a shot. In 2018, the Digimon Pendulum version 20th was the easiest device to recommend, but unfortunately things got kinda bad after a while. It is a very, very good device, but it is weighed down by just how rotten the market is for it. It became harder to acquire and ballooned in price to the point where it's difficult to suggest anyone get this over just buying an original Digimon Pendulum. The device is a straight sequel to the Digital Monster version 20th, improving on its predecessor in every way. Each of its 4 versions features a bigger roster than the DM20, despite having only half of the original Pendulum series on each, meaning that if you want to raise all the eggs from the original series, you would need at least 2 devices. The special eggs are also more varied this time, especially on the Wave 2 releases. Raising 2 Digimon at a time returns, but this time with more purpose, since jogresses can be performed between the Digimon being raised. Jogressing also means that there are more evolution options for Digimon after reaching Stage 4, resulting in more branching paths. Best of all, if you are willing to do some tinkering, you can mod these devices to feature all raisable Digimon from across all 4 versions for a grand total of 240 Digimon on one device. The device also introduces Cold Mode, a true pause feature that would reappear in most of the vpets that followed. The only real downsides are again the availability, as this device just isn't going to be worth picking up for most people at its current prices, as well as an unfortunate issue that can cause save data to be wiped, which is especially frustrating if you've previously done the mod, as you would need to redo it from the start at that point. It is possible to reduce the risk of save loss by being careful, and I haven't lost my own save data for over 5 years now, but the risk may always exist. Overall, this one ranks 5th out of the 7 devices on this list. Despite reusing the shell of the Digital Monster version 20th and taking several cues from the Digimon Pendulum X, the Digital Monster X was very much a new experience when it released in 2019. At first, it seemed like a bit of a letdown since the roster sizes were so much smaller than the version 20th devices, but it became clear that it was a return to form with how Digimon devices released previously, with each device featuring its own unique roster. There are 6 versions in total, and which version you choose will come down mostly to which of these rosters you want, though there is some overlap between each pair of devices. You only raise 1 Digimon at a time, but you can keep up to 2 Digimon in backup. The star of the show with these devices is the Quest mode, and it's easily the best on any Digimon device, period. The battle system itself is great, and is made better by the fact that you can use items for battles and level up your Digimon as you fight to make it stronger. Clearing areas of Quest mode also allows you to unlock new evolutions, meaning that the roster of available Digimon will increase as you play. Unlike the previous 2 devices, how you care for your Digimon continues to impact what it will evolve into after it reaches its Stage 4 form, making evolution just far more interesting in general. They even added one more visual treat, cut-ins, which show a close-up of the Digimon's face when using its strongest attack. Really, I have nothing bad to say about the Digital Monster X outside of how annoying it is that we likely won't see versions XE and XF receive localized releases like the first 4 versions did, due to a botched release of the XC and XD. Regardless of that, you should definitely pick one up if you haven't already, as it's definitely the gold standard in terms of the Digimon vpet experience and ranks first on my personal list. The XC and XD versions are especially great over the XA and XB, as they have bigger rosters, more areas in quest mode, and an additional item called the Experience Coat. Following up the Digital Monster X was a tough task, and so rather than try to reinvent the wheel, they basically reshaped it into the Digimon Pendulum Z. The overall gameplay is exactly the same as the DMX, though with a few alterations, including not unlocking evolutions via quest mode anymore. This change specifically put a sour taste in my mouth and originally made me think the Pendulum Z was worse than it was, but I've warmed up since then. The Pen Z returns to using fields from the original Pendulum, but with rosters of Digimon that appeared on later devices, and several entirely new Digimon as well. There are 6 versions in all, and each of the base rosters are almost entirely unique. Additionally, each device can unlock one of the 6 partners from Digimon Adventure 02 by connecting to another device, which is pretty neat. But they also feature a more underwhelming unlock of Agumon and Agumon on the first 3 devices, or Gabumon and Wolfmon on the second 3 if you connect to one more Pendulum from that same wave. It's a rare case where I'd rather have a smaller roster overall, as if you unlocked everything, you would have a device themed around aquatic creatures, for example, but with over a third of the roster not being aquatic in any way. Basically, if you do get a Pendulum Z, maybe don't do the unlocks if you want to keep the theming on point. Evolution is also a little bit less interesting than the DMX, as it's back to how it was on the Pendulum version 20th, where you have multiple options if you Jogress after stage 4, but only one option without Jogressing. Jogressing is also a little bit too easy to do via connection, so I highly recommend only Jogressing with Digimon raised on the same device via its backup feature, instead of doing those connection Jogresses. Despite my complaints, this device is still really good, as it again borrows heavily from the Digital Monster X, and the rosters are some of the best in the franchise. Even though Quest Mode doesn't have unlocks, it's still a great time, especially because there's a lot of unique enemies to fight through, including some from the original Pendulum series. I used to rank the Pendulum version 20th higher, but the more I've played them both, the more I consider the Pendulum Z to be the more enjoyable experience, so I'm going to put it third on this list. While there are a few models of the Vital Bracelet that have come out, there are only 2 you should concern yourself with, and only one of those 2 will get you a full experience. I'll get the lesser model out of the way first, the Vital Hero. It's a localized version of the Vital Bracelet, specifically the Digivice V model, and it's fine, but most importantly, it's cheap. Really cheap. It started life off at 65 USD and is currently less than 20 USD on Amazon. Yeah, it didn't seem to do too well, which isn't surprising since it released just a few months before the superior Vital Bracelet B. The Vital Hero can use all original cards, whether English or Japanese, but cannot use any DIM cards that are labeled as B memory DIM cards. As such, it's a good way to just try out the Vital series, but if you decide you like what it offers, then ultimately you'll want the Vital Bracelet B. It comes in various colors with various anime tie-ins, but no matter what the B looks like, it will operate the same as any other B, and can use all DIM cards available, English or Japanese, whether B memory or not, as well as any non-Digimon B memory. DIM cards are what contain the actual Digimon you raise. You plug one into the device and hatch an egg. You can reuse these cards as many times as you want on the B, including on other B devices, but if using a Vital Hero, you can only reuse a card on up to 3 different Vital Hero devices. Honestly, the DIM system is a great idea, and allows you to expand the Vital Bracelets roster without buying more devices. There is a large variety of DIM cards out there, so you should be able to find several that would speak to your tastes. Moving forward, everything I say will be for the Vital Bracelet B specifically, so if you want to see more about specific differences, head to the differences page at digitamahatchery.com. As for raising Digimon on the Vital Bracelet, it differs greatly from other Digimon vpets, so much so that many people don't even consider this to be a virtual pet. I do definitely consider it one, but instead of caring for your Digimon by feeding and cleaning, you instead wear it to keep it alive. As you wear it, it gains vital values, which will make it stronger and affects evolution, and you can also perform exercises to increase stats and meet evolution requirements. Battles can also be performed as usual, though there is no interaction before battles like on previous devices. In fact, there's very little interaction at all with these devices. vpets are already passive experiences, and when you take away things like feeding, you really have no reason to check on your Digimon throughout the day. Once you do your battles and exercises, that's just kind of it, which makes it pretty boring to me overall. Of course, there's appeal in just simply having a Digimon evolving on your wrist, and some people do enjoy looking for online battles using the app, though it's hard to say how long the app will remain operational with the Vital series seemingly at its end. Something really great though is that Bandai added the ability to update the device via SD card on the Vital Bracelet B. While they didn't make much use of that, the Digimon community did, and as such, mods on the Vital Bracelet B are very easy to perform and to improve functionality of the device. I have a whole video on that you can check out if you want to learn more, and trust me, you do. No one should be running the Vital Bracelet B without mods, it's just flat out an inferior experience. Oh, and just as a note, this is not a real fitness device, it is a toy. If you are interested in your fitness stats, don't expect to get any proper details with this, but if you are just looking to enjoy it for what it is, it's a fine pickup. I at least consider it more interesting than the Digital Monster version 20th, so it sits at 6th place on my list. That's the Vital Bracelet B to be specific. The Vital Hero does not even make my list. In case you didn't know, Bandai really likes rehashing the original pets in new ways, but thankfully the Digital Monster Color is more than just a nostalgia cash-in. Well, a little more at least. This was a really exciting device to see come out, and is honestly a ton of fun. Just adding color to the old sprites shouldn't be as neat as it is, but it is. It helps that the coloring job is much better than past video games have done. Each Digimon looks really great. They also fixed one of the biggest missteps of the DM20, which was not giving each Stage 5 Digimon a Stage 6 form to evolve into. Some people will definitely look at this though and say that it should have been like a DM20 with all the versions on one device, but personally I like them being separated like they are. There are 5 versions in total, and I simply wouldn't recommend buying each one, just grab 1 or 2 that have your most liked roster. The raising experience is just overall more enjoyable than DM20, and that's the more important thing to me when it comes to vpets rather than the roster. I will say though, as few as 18 Digimon on a device is definitely pretty small for a roster, and since the Pendulum Color showed us that they were willing to go farther, it's disappointing that they didn't add more Stage 5 Digimon or other additional routes. Quest mode makes a return, albeit smaller than before, but progressing through stages unlocks backgrounds. In fact, those backgrounds are one of my favorite features on the device, hands down, especially since only the version 1 background was ever used on the DM20. Some backgrounds will change throughout the day to reflect the current time, and you can unlock the ones used on any other Digital Monster Color by connecting to that specific version, in addition to the backgrounds available to unlock from Raising Digimon and Quest mode. A color screen also means that it's backlit, like any other standard screen would be, and the battery is rechargeable. That may seem worrisome at first, but the battery lasts for a whole week with no issue, which is perfectly fine with me. Overall, it's a really good experience, even if it feels a bit like a trial run for the next device. The Digital Monster Color rests right in the middle of my list at 4th place. I have severe pendulum bias, and I'm not afraid to admit it. I love the Digimon Pendulum Color so much, even with the flaws that it does have. It takes the Digital Monster Color as a template and sprinkles in the jogger system of the Pendulum Z, all while expanding the original Digimon Pendulum rosters in meaningful ways. They even managed to add theme-appropriate guest star Digimon to each device from Ghost Game, Seekers, and Liberator. You do need to connect to at least one other pendulum to unlock the guest star route, but any of the other 5 versions will work. Backgrounds are back, but not only can you connect to get all 6 pendulum backgrounds, you can also get the 5 Digital Monster Color backgrounds as well, plus others. For my deep savers, this is especially killer because I can use the beach background from the Digital Monster version 5. If you don't use the beach while raising Ganimon, you might not be a real tamer. Theming is once again a standout feature, with the standard 6 fields each getting 1 device, and I will say again that having them separated on different devices like this just feels right. I love having Nature Spirits and Deep Savers on 2 devices side by side with appropriate backgrounds and shells that reflect their contents. The shaking method is also greatly improved over the Pen 20 and Pen Z, as now you just shake until you have hit the correct color. This is similar to how the Pen Z worked with arrows, but much more reliable. Still, despite my love for this device, it's just not quite as amazing as the Digital Monster X and its superior Quest mode, even with color and cool backgrounds, so it will have to settle for a very strong 2nd place. Pre-orders for the 2nd wave are still happening at the time of this video's release, so make sure to place an order ASAP to ensure you'll get one for a reasonable price if you like the rosters. So beyond virtual pets, we also have another class of Digimon LCD toys called Digivices. You don't raise Digimon on these, rather the gameplay is composed of having a partner from one of the Digimon TV shows and doing battles alongside it, usually encountering said battles by walking with the device. There have been several releases in the past 10 years, including the Digivice version 15th, D3 version 15th, D-Arc version 15th, and Digivice version Complete, which are all anniversary remakes of previous Digivices, as well as the Digivice Colon, which released with Digimon Adventure Colon. That's the symbol colon, by the way, and yes, that's really what their titles are, though I don't think Bandai wants me to pronounce the colon out loud. There are also Digivices that don't feature gameplay, called CSA Digivices and SCSA Digivices, that have more features but still aren't full games. The latest Digivice is the 25th Color Evolution, and is based on the original Digimon Adventure Digivice, but now in color and with more flair. These devices aren't generally as engaging to me as vpets, but can be fun to pick up if you like the show they're from. For more details about the latest one releasing later this year, check out the video on my channel about its announcement. And then what about older virtual pets? There's a lot more to talk about here than would fit in the format of this video, but obviously you're going to be looking at secondhand purchasing for all of these older devices. The Digivice IC is the one that is the most crowd-pleasing, with a lot of features you would normally only find on a Tamagotchi, like games and hats. Hats! It's also a rare case where a Digivice from the show is actually a virtual pet in disguise, but that's only true for the Japanese version. Other than that, the Pendulum Progress, Pendulum X, and Digimon XL are the 3 most unique classic vpets to look at, each with some really cool features, but also with their own glaring flaws. I have videos on each, so check those out if you're interested. One thing you should definitely consider no matter what device you buy is some form of Digimon communicator device. The most common one out there is the ACOM, which can be easily built on your own with just a few electronic parts, but there are also several pre-made ones that can be found online, including at the Digimon Online Discord server. ACOMs will work with every device on this list, and their purpose is to simulate connections to another device. In effect, that opens up 3 main pieces of functionality, including unlocking content on your device that would normally be locked behind having a second device, performing jogresses, or battling online. Did you know that there is literally an MMO called World, where you can take the Digimon you are raising, connect it to an ACOM, and then see it appear in the game, then use it to fight other players? It's really cool stuff, and I recommend every vpet fan have one of these communicators. I also have a video about connecting Digimon to a computer that you can check out for more details, and there is the Wi-Fi comm, which has more features than the standard ACOM, but I plan on making a video about that as well in the near future. And what about the virtual pets of the future? Well, we aren't really expecting any more English releases, as Bandai of America seems to have abandoned Digimon altogether. In Japan, I'm very curious what to expect next. After the Pendulum color, there's no real clear direction to go, and I can easily see Bandai take a break from vpets to focus on making 25th color evolution Digivices for Digimon Adventure 02 and Digimon Tamers, maybe even Frontier if it's on its best behavior. Of course, Bandai has had no issues with sending out SCSA Digivices alongside vpets, so it's not to say they only have to do one or the other, but it's really up in the air at the moment. Outside of Digimon though, a new Tamagotchi connection is being released in July, and I am not joking when I say that everyone watching this video should get one. The original connection series was such a quintessential vpet experience, and those who have only played with Digimon vpets will feel right at home trying one out. As for Digimon, once there's something new to share, you know I'll have a video up on it, and you can stay up to date by following the news channels in the Discord server. That's going to do it for now, so until next time, bye!